She held a rag in one hand and the $300 million future of an empire in the other. They thought she was just a maid, but when the storm came, she was the only one who didn't flinch. Because the real game changers are the ones the world always underestimates. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Secret Affairs Exposed. This is where we uncover the hidden and shocking stories of secret love affairs, betrayals, and power moves that were never meant to come to light. Now, let's dive into today's cinematic true story. The Langford estate gleamed like a cathedral of wealth, marble floors, gold leaf trim, and windows tall enough to swallow the horizon. Billionaire CEO Michael Langford stood at the center of it all, pacing like a lion caged in glass. "Where is the translator?" His voice shattered the hush of the grand hall, echoing through the crystal chandeliers and silencing the army of interns and executives standing around like ghosts at the far end of a 30-foot table. Three powerful Arab investors sat still, dignified, unreadable. They'd flown in from Abu Dhabi for one thing, a $300 million deal that could reshape Langford Dynamics' future. Their one requirement? A fluent, high-level Arabic translator, not an app, not Google. A real human, someone who could understand tone, culture, and context. Michael's shoulders tensed. His voice rose again. "Bianca, I said translator, not a dictionary app." Bianca, his icy chief of staff, flinched slightly but remained composed. "They're working on it, sir," she replied, "but there's no one on site." And in that chaos where power, panic, and polished suits collided, no one noticed the woman quietly wiping the crystal staircase behind them. Her name was Leela Omar.2. Most, she was just the maid. Gray uniform, quiet footsteps, lemon-scented cleaner. But that day, she wasn't just carrying a rag. She was carrying 5 languages in her head, years of silent sacrifice in her bones, and a fire no one had bothered to look at long enough to. Fear, part 2 of 4. The storm unfolds, the hall buzzed like a malfunctioning beehive. Interns whispered. Phones buzzed. The investors exchanged glances, first curious, then skeptical. Michael barked orders to his assistants like a general bleeding. "Ground. Call USC's language department. Hell, call the embassy." Bianca hissed into her phone. An Ivy League intern trembled, nearly dropping his tablet, and still. Leila watched. The words spoken across the table weren't lost on her. She understood. Every syllable, subtle complaints about disorganization, concerns over American arrogance, a quiet comment about walking out. Her fingers clenched around the rag. She could fix this. But did she dare? Did she step into the light of a world that expected her to remain invisible? Leila took a breath, stepped forward. "Excuse me, sir." Her voice was low but unwavering, like the first rumble of distant thunder. "If you'd like, I can translate." The room stopped breathing. Michael turned, incredulous. "You?" he said, blinking. "You're the maid." "Yes," she said calmly, rag still in hand. "But I'm also fluent in classical Arabic, Gulf dialect, and North African variant. My father taught linguistics at Khartoum University. I grew up translating textbooks at age 8. The silence wasn't disrespectful anymore. It was shock, disbelief, realization. One of the Arab investors leaned forward and spoke a phrase in precise, formal Arabic layered with tone shifts and diplomatic subtlety. Without blinking, Leila responded, fluent, elegant, perfect. Another investor raised an eyebrow. A third smiled for the first time. Respect entered the room like a sudden breeze. Michael looked like he'd seen a ghost. "You're joking?" he muttered. "I'm serious," she said. "But your deal won't survive another misstep. So if you want to close this, let me help. Now." Michael hesitated. Then nodded. "Slow. Sit down." She did. Nod on the sidelines. At the head of the table, beside the CEO, The table turns. What followed wasn't just a translation. It was a masterclass. In diplomacy, Leela didn't just repeat words, she sculpted them, softened them, sharpened them when needed. She caught a crucial misinterpretation in their IP clause. She bridged confusion around a development timeline, and she subtly soothed bruised egos before they turned into broken deals. Bianca watched from a corner, arms crossed so tight her fingers dug into her sleeves. The men around the table began to lean in when Leila spoke. They asked her questions directly now. Michael didn't interrupt. 2 hours later, the deal was signed. The room exhaled. Michael leaned back in his chair, staring at her. One of the investors, Mr. Al-Hakim, stood and said something in Arabic. You are fortunate, not because you're rich, but because she sits at your table. Leila translated it softly. Michael didn't respond. He simply stood, and for the first time, he offered her a hand. Days passed. Leela went back to work as if nothing happened. Same uniform, same side door, same quiet steps, but the building felt different now. People glanced twice. Conversations paused when she passed. One morning, Bianca stood waiting at the top of the stairs. Good morning, Leela, she said, too sweetly. Quite the little show you put on the other day. Leela smiled softly. Sometimes one moment is all it takes, especially when it's earned. Bianca's smile didn't reach her eyes. She turned away, heels clicking like a warning. The offer later that day, Michael called Leela into his office. It wasn't the cold glass room she remembered. Now it had warmth. Books, light, less armor. They want you at the next meeting, he said. As what? She asked. Translator? No, he said. As international liaison? She didn't react immediately, and your team will accept that? They'll have to, Michael said, or they can leave. A beat. Do you trust me? Or are you just trying to save your deal? She asked. Michael looked her in the eye. Both, but mostly I can't unsee what I saw in that room. She nodded slowly. I'll do it, but on one condition. Name it. No more uniform, and I don't use the back door anymore. He smiled. Deal. 2 years later, the name on the building no longer read just Langford Dynamics. Now it read Langford and Omar International Global Communications and Trade. Inside, Leila walked the hallways like she belonged, because now she did. She led strategic deals. In the Middle East, built programs for immigrant youth, trained new translators, and sat at tables once locked to people like her. One morning, in the garden of the Leadership Institute she founded for young girls like herself, she knelt beside a 10-year-old girl holding a notebook. Miss Leela, the girl said, breathless, I wrote something. Will you read it? Leela smiled, eyes warm. Of course. Show me everything. The world needs your voice. The final line. Michael walked up beside her. You still think I only saw a maid that day? He asked. She looked ahead. I think you saw what the world trained you to see, but not anymore. She turned, steady and calm. No, now. The world sees me because I stayed long enough to become undeniable. The wind moved through the garden, lifting her curls like flags in a revolution, and behind her, a generation waited ready to rise, because while others built gates, Leila built doors, and she left them wide open. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Secret Affairs Exposed for more powerful real-life stories like this one.